Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our CIA faculty panel discussion to talk about CIA's exciting academic programs, our real-world restaurant experience, and some of the very cool courses you'll be taking. My name is Rachel Birchwood, Associate Vice President of Enrollment at the CIA, and we're very excited to have three faculty on our panel today to share information with you. As the world's premier culinary college and leader in the food and hospitality industry, we can't wait to host you on our campus at CIA. But for today, we're committed to providing you with helpful information so you can learn all the amazing things CIA has to offer you. Today, we're joined by three special guests: Chef Brian Kaywork, lecturing instructor in Culinary Arts, Professor Courtney Dipbrenner, Assistant Professor in Culinary Arts, and Chef Bill McCarrick, Assistant Professor in Baking and Pastry Arts. Welcome. We're going to have our three faculty members introduce themselves. Let's start with Chef Brian Kaywork.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here and have a chance to answer some of the questions that you're going to have today. My name is Brian Kaywork. I'm a graduate of 2002 from the CIA. Previous to that, I have a degree in my bachelor's degree in exercise science from McDaniel College down in Maryland. I've lived in a variety of places. My career has brought me to a variety of places, from Florida to California, Maryland, Georgia, New Jersey, and New York. Most recently, I've been executive chef and GM of a variety of places in the Hudson Valley. When I graduated from the school, I was very interested in pursuing a career in farm-to-table cuisine, and I stayed in the Hudson Valley because it's just a fantastic place to cook and to work with great small farmers and artisans, and it's a very stimulating and great environment. I'm currently the executive chef, or the chef instructor, at American Bounty Restaurant. I also teach a bachelor's level class of farm-to-table cuisine, and looking forward to hashing out some questions that you may have. So welcome.
Great, thank you. Professor Courtney Dipbrenner, if you can introduce yourself now.
Absolutely. Hi, and welcome everyone to our little show. I'm a front of house instructor. I teach in all of the restaurants on campus and also some classes in business management. I started off my career as a flight attendant for Delta Airlines, proceeded to work for various restaurateurs and hoteliers in New York City, owned and operated 3 restaurants in New York and New Jersey, and then came to the CIA in 2011. As I said, I'm a front of house instructor, so when you're in my classes, we teach with the guests that are coming from outside into the restaurants on campus. And we cover everything from wines to hospitality, table service, etiquette, business management, and numbers. I like to think that my class is one of, it's one of my favorites on campus, but we'll hear more about that later. So welcome.
Awesome. And Chef Bill McCarrick, if you can introduce yourself.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Bill McCarrick, and I'm an assistant professor currently teaching the specialty breads class. I'm originally from Philadelphia, and my career upon graduation led me to work with a certified master pastry chef. He was a great mentor to me for the 1 year I worked with him, and still is a mentor for me today. He guided me in my career to go and work overseas, so I had an opportunity to go and work in Switzerland as a 1 year exchange student. And from Switzerland, I was able to go and work in Austria. And then from Austria, I was able to go and work in a ski resort in Vail, Colorado for winter season. And then that led me on to taking on my first executive pastry chef job in Melbourne, Australia. And then from Australia, my wife and I, we went to work in Asia for 15 years, starting off opening the Grand Hyatt Taipei. And then I joined Shangri-La Company as executive pastry chef at their flagship property in Hong Kong. And as an area pastry chef, I was looking after the Philippines and Malaysia. After that experience, I returned to the States to Atlantic City, New Jersey. But the draw of going overseas and joining the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company as their first Asian property as their executive pastry chef. And then from there to the first Middle Eastern property for Ritz-Carlton in Dubai. And from there, I went to London to the world's largest department store, Harrods, and I was at Harrods department store. And then from Harrods, I took a leap of faith and I started my own chocolate company in London. And then from London, I have gone to the Culinary Institute of America, which has been the most exciting experience of my career.
Wonderful. So we're now available to take people's questions. So you can put your questions through in the Q&A section of this chat. But we're going to start with a few questions for our panel about what a typical day is in the class you're teaching right now. So let's start, actually, we'll go backwards and we'll start with Chef McCarrick, what a typical day looks like for students. What do students need to be prepared for in a typical day for your class?
A typical day in specialty breads will be whereby the students would arrive about 15 minutes earlier outside the kitchen. And from that period there, we would bring inside the bake shop any ingredients that we would need for that particular day. And it also gives the students a chance to set up their stations, their knife kits, clean down. And we then start with a lecture demonstration by the chef instructor. So every product that the students will make will first have a demonstration by that chef. And then afterwards, the students will proceed. And depending on what stage, what class they are in their class, either the whole group is making the same product or different teams will be making different items. So for example, in specialty breads where I'm right now, you may have a group that's making baguettes, which are going to be served in Farquharson Hall, or another group may be making some brioche, which would be used in another restaurant. Another group may be doing some laminated dough, being croissant and Danish pastry. And the students throughout the day will be in charge of looking after products from the proofing and finishing baking stage, and also delivering breads for the different restaurants. During that day, the students will also have the opportunity to take breaks when they need to. And the students will also be having a meal break during that, where they can choose different cuisines from different outlets to try at that time. And then after our meal break, we come back and we have our deep cleaning session, review our products, lecture on what we've completed, and also what we're going to be doing for the next day. And then the students are also working on some special projects, food cost, breads of the future, etc. And we will have one-on-one sessions or group sessions on how we're proceeding with that. So it's a very stimulating environment. It's one that's very hands-on, and we want the students to have that repetition to develop those hand skills so that they can precisely improve their skills.
Great. Chef K-Work, can you talk a little bit about a day in your class?
So my class is unique in the fact that at American Bounty, we're one of the public restaurants. And so it is both a working restaurant feeding the public with the high standards that we expect from the culinary, as well as being a class. The format that Chef McCarrick pointed out is similar to most of the classes at the school in terms of the timing. And as you advance in the curriculum, the chef demo with the student repetition just changes a little bit. Whereas by the time they get to the end of the curriculum and they're working with me, we've gone from receiving product for the day and having a lecture, and then moving into the restaurant to do the restaurant portion of the class. That is, for all intents and purposes, it's an operating kitchen class with smaller windows of opportunity for demo that resemble the pace and the urgency that a restaurant has. So there's certainly a lot more one-on-one demos and one-on-one times with me, just in a very fast pace because we're meeting the demands for getting ready for service. We will proceed with a dinner service because I'm an evening chef. I have a counterpart who does lunch service. And we will do a wrap up and clean up of the kitchen. The wrap up would be a time of reflection where I'm giving feedback on how everything went, also setting our sights for what's coming up for us either the next day or later in the week. And then we reset the kitchen for the next day. So it's a compact version of what it would be like to be in a restaurant with abbreviated prep time and also abbreviated service, but absolutely critical and exciting and challenging, and a lot of the students by the time they reach me are very excited about being able to put all the lessons they've learned throughout the curriculum to put it to work to feed the public. It's a very gratifying time.
Great. And Professor Dittbrenner, a typical day in your class right now?
So my class will be a little different depending if you're focusing on baking and pastry with Chef McCarrick or if you're doing culinary arts with Chef Kwork. Let's take baking and pastry. That class is held in the Apple Pie Bakery Cafe. Students have a chance to work both in the back of house section and then also in the front of house with me. If you're in culinary arts, then you have a chance to work in one of our many restaurants on campus, whichever campus you may be on. They will run either morning or afternoon. The Apple Pie Cafe runs the whole day. So my students will start anywhere from 6:30 in the morning is one section, and another section goes from 9 until 5. We'll start the day with some lecture and reviewing some topic products, doing some tasting, and then we go into our setup. Setup includes checking your uniform and making sure that you're ready to go for a front-facing position dealing with the public. Your hair, your grooming, your shoes, your uniform, and all those other items are checked before the doors open. Once the doors open, then we're open for service. And that's where I think the real excitement comes in, because you have a chance to take the items that you've prepared in the back of house classes and you're selling them now to guests that are coming into our restaurants. We do a lot of coaching. We do a lot of role playing before we start talking to the guests, because for some students, it's not their comfort zone. So we've got various positions throughout the restaurant. The students get a chance to choose whether they want to be a waiter or a barista, or possibly work back in the grab and go section, preparing pastries and helping to distribute those. But when the students finish my class, they've got a real sense of and have everything so far, their culinary and their baking and pastry courses, and wrapping it up and seeing what it's like to provide that to the end user, and that's the customer.
Awesome. So we've got a couple questions here from students, great questions actually. So let's start out, maybe Chef McCarrick, you can take this one. The question is, how helpful are you as an instructor to help students during class or even after class if they need extra help? What does that look like?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's crucial in any learning situation, and specifically in the bake shops, that it's not just that initial, what I call that demo or that preparation or setup time, but with students that they have the opportunity to display their skills and then to have feedback from chef. And also, you know, each of us are different and may not feel comfortable in a group environment to ask for additional support, but it's my role to be there for the students, not just before class, but after class. And some of the most monumental hurdles that I see overcoming, or so they seem, is when we can speak, myself and the student, regarding a certain technique they're working on, or any other issue that they may have inside a class or outside a class, but it goes back to supporting their development and their progress. And it goes back to what I had said earlier about that repetition and just working through particular items. You know, when a chef with years of experience does something like braid a challah bread, to a student, it looks as if that chef was born to do that. Well, the reality is we were we have to learn those techniques and we have to develop that. But it's just really about practice. And along the way, it's just getting the support. And it could be something as simple as the positioning of an elbow and how your wrists are turning when you're doing a certain technique.
Mm-hmm.
But I always find that smile on the student's face when they feel that they got it. Okay, I got it now, chef. Let me take it forward. It makes my day. So that's my answer to that.
Great, thank you. Chef K-Work, another question we just got is, how strict are you in class? Or I think we should kind of say, how strict are our faculty in classes? And what does a test look like?
Strict is pretty subjective. I think every instructor sees it and handles their kitchens or whatever position they're overseeing differently. I think that the CIA as a whole has a history of discipline. I think I'd rather focus on discipline than how strict it is. I think that chefs and people who work in the restaurant industry all have a lot of attributes that are very personable and very hospitable, and we're really interested in people feeling good. And that's the heart of the hospitality industry, and we represent that. But the other side of the coin is that there's a discipline that's required to be able to provide that for every single person at every single time, at every single moment that comes into your facility. And it's that discipline and that structure that ensures that everybody has an incredible time. And so it's a double-sided coin. So it feels very strict and it feels very disciplined, but there's a real material purpose behind it. So yes, it's strict and it's disciplined, but there's a lot of room to be an individual, and there's a lot of room to be who you are, provided you understand what's at stake here, and that we're trying to run a business, and we're trying to really give people an elevated experience when they come to visit us.
Great. Professor Dipbrenner, one of the questions from the students is, what are your top 3 expectations for students at the beginning of a semester?
Wow, that's a great question. I think we all, and gentlemen, I see your heads, you know what I'm going to say. It's communication. The students come in and their hearts are wide open, they want to learn. So I think the 3 main components that we're looking for are communication, respect, and really a connection with our students as we go through classes. There are guidelines and disciplines, just as Chef K-Work talked about. For example, with uniform, there are guidelines with a neckerchief and your jacket being clean and pressed. So I'm looking for a student that's going to be disciplined, is going to be engaged, is going to be open about the things that they're concerned with. And I can speak for every faculty member on campus. And if a student comes to us with a question, we'll take the time to help them figure out the concept and master it.
Great. So, one of the things I'm sure students are looking forward to is a moment when they can come on campus and see our facilities. But maybe in lieu of that, we can help them just understand the facilities that are there and available to them as a CIA student. So Chef McCarrick, can you speak a little bit about the facilities from the baking and pastry side and the classrooms and what facilities students will be learning in?
Absolutely. The facilities that we have in our bake shops and chocolate shops and pastry shops are the best on the globe. They are state-of-the-art. We have, as far as equipment, the best of the best. And the design of the layout of the particular bake shops lend themselves to show the student the reality of a production kitchen while still being an educational environment. The support that the students have outside of that lab, being that kitchen, again, you dream about these surroundings that we have on campus and the facilities that we have there. I mean, the egg nearby has support, not just a gymnasium, different outlets over there right on the Hudson River, but the other activities that are involved that support the baking and pastry department there. whereby the students can participate in different clubs that are involved. And I know Chef Kayworth is involved in that also, that you have the world's best environment for bakery and pastry students, without a doubt. And this leads into why those facilities support students when they graduate to have the best opportunities, because the Culinary Institute of America is the best culinary school, bakery and pastry school in the world. And those facilities that we have there are the best that you're going to find. I hope I explained the environment. I'm so excited when I think about our setting that we have. And it's a safe, supportive, it's a demanding environment, but again, you came to be the best of the best, enjoying the best of the best. And you would expect no less than that.
Awesome. Chef Kayworth, can you talk just a little bit about the facility side from the culinary arts perspective?
Well, first off, I remember the first time I visited when I was shopping around as a prospective student. And when I showed up there, it was just awe-inspiring how beautiful it is. You're situated literally right on the Hudson River. And it's just beautiful. And it inspires you to want to be there more, which is great, honestly. And in terms of, again, sticking with the first impressions when I was a student, I just remember walking through there feeling like it was a big playground. These kitchens, there's kitchens everywhere I turned, you know, and I really wanted to cook, and I had a decent amount of experience, but I didn't grow up in a family that went out to chef-based restaurants, and I grew up in a suburban area, and I had a good restaurant I worked in, but once again, it wasn't a chef-driven restaurant or anything like that. And coming there and seeing just every corner I turned was a different restaurant, it was a different kitchen, and the energy was just electric. So I can still remember what it was like to have that impression walking through. And after all these years, it still really does feel that way. There's a lot of kitchens, there's a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of great equipment. And I really think that matters. To work with state-of-the-art equipment that you know is going to be relevant moving forward and is going to be valuable to your career and your skill base is essential. You don't want to be working on old equipment. Yes, of course, you can cook great food with that. But if you're investing in yourself and if you're investing in your ability, you want to know what's around the corner as much as what is and what was. And I think that the school offers that. And the school is actually very proactive about having great partnerships with the manufacturers of these equipment too. And we get a chance to see things oftentimes before it even makes its way to the market. So all of these things that if you love food and you come in, as Courtney said, with an open heart, and you really are coming receptive and ready to take control of your future, it's exciting and it's great.
Wonderful.
Can I just add,
Please.
one little thing there? And that's the nooks and crannies on campus. So everything I do is on the main floor of Roth Hall, which is Farquharson Hall. That's the student dining area. The Apple Pie Bakery Cafe is there. I will always find students tucked in small little corners in groups, maybe just grabbing a coffee or discussing a concept. You walk into the student dining area and there's students together doing group projects or helping each other on a study session. You walk further down the hall and there's the wine spectator classroom where students are tasting 4 or 6 different types of wines with their instructors. It's magical.
We're getting a fair number of questions about what does a test look like at CIA, a test or a final, and then also kind of the balance between hands-on within a class, the balance between hands-on work and kind of the lecture side of things. So maybe Bill, if you could take that from your perspective, kind of what does a final or a test look like, and then the balance of hands-on and lecture.
Okay. So a final exam, and I'm going to use the example of, for this time, bakery and pastry techniques, which would be the class that I have previously taught, and that's as a whole semester, it's 15 weeks. And that would be the class that students on their first arrival to campus in bakery pastry would have a chef instructor. And that would involve meeting twice a week, usually a Tuesday and Thursday or Wednesday and Friday. And for each of those days, it's 6.5 hours with that hour meal break. So where does the final come into it? So there will be along the way, along those 15 weeks, 5 quizzes, and those quizzes would be about the products that you've already covered before. For example, creaming method, making the chocolate chip cookie, or blending method, making a bran muffin. And the final exam will be towards the end, as it should, of that 15-week period. And it would typically be about 50 questions, and those questions would involve multiple choice, true or false, fill in the numbers. And one of the progressive ways we move forward is we have these quizzes and finals online. So the students would bring in their laptop, their phone, and after the cleanup, after lecture, if that's what we choose to do, and we do this as a group, we choose when we want to have that final as far as what time of the day, when everybody feels comfortable with that. And we'd have a particular time limit, say, for example, I'll throw 40 minutes out there, 50 questions, and the students would complete that online at their desk, being their table that they work on. And that would cover everything within their 15-week period. And that would be how the final would work in this particular class, which is bakery and pastry techniques.
Perfect. Chef Kaywork, can you speak a little bit about within a class, how much time is lecture at the top or the bottom of the class versus hands-on time, and kind of how we organize that?
It depends the class you're taking. If you happen to be in a kitchen, what we call a kitchen lab class, the majority of the time is going to be hands-on. If I was to go off of my class, it's 45 minutes to an hour is going to be lecture time, whereas the remaining time, which is because we're in a restaurant setting, it could be 6 to 8 hours is going to be in the restaurant, hands-on. You're working. That repetition that Chef McCarrick was mentioning is really baked into the equation at the CIA. From our president and provost all the way down, they understand the value of repetition and working with your hands, and that's the tool. That's the ultimate tool. So the ratio depends on the type of course, and I would say that if you are in a course that's not one of the public restaurants, it would be a similar model where you're in lecture for probably about 45 minutes to an hour, or that amount of time is broken up throughout your time together.
Great. Can you give us an example, maybe Professor Dittbrenner, of like a lecture topic that, for example, if you're in the Apple Pie Bakery Cafe class, what might some lecture topics be on different days?
Sure. Some of the topics that we cover obviously are product knowledge, where we'll go through different items that we're selling in the cafe. We might talk about wine and food, pairing items together with the savory and also the sweet items that are available at the cafe. We also look at micros and operating a point of sale system. We look at menus and how they're designed and developed. We'll also look at ways to increase your income or your profit in your restaurant with average check and liquor to food sales and ratios. So we really cover a lot of the operational concepts.
Yeah, great. So we have a couple questions about how would a student navigate with a food allergy through our curriculum, and what would that look like? Do you have to eat the food or be exposed to the food? Chef McCarrick, do you feel comfortable speaking to that a little bit?
Absolutely, yes. With food allergy and allergens, and by the way, in the students themselves will learn extensively about the risk and concerns with food allergies that we have. But as far as a student who actually has an allergy themselves, let me explain that we remind the students, we being the instructors, before students come into class to share with us, your instructor, if you have any allergies or any health concerns, privately, just to let us be aware of that situation. And this way we could take any precautions along the way. Secondly, with any of the products that we are presenting or serving, so for example, students in our particular class may make a creme brulee. And, I know what's in a creme brulee, and not everybody knows what's in a creme brulee. And same for the students who are in FARC who are tasting a creme brulee, and they may have an allergy to a particular ingredient that is in the creme brulee. So we list all the allergens, and we make the students aware of what those products are there. But every precaution is taken on there. And I mean, in the worst case scenario, we have an amazing safety department that even students who come in and, it's easy for me to come into my own environment, feel very comfortable and say, well, you know what, I'm going to taste a piece of this beautiful Danish pastry over here before I start my lecture, and I have a real nice energy rush. But there may be one of my students coming in the class who, they're new on campus and they don't know anybody, and, they missed the meal period and they arrive at class low on their energy, and lo and behold, they are standing there for their introduction and they're feeling lightheaded. And if that ever happens, we always make sure that we look after our students, but we have an amazing safety department that, when I say within seconds, they're there to support us. We have an amazing facility and support. And the safety of our students is the number one concern that we all have on that side with allergens, and for any of our guests there. So we take this situation extremely serious. And we train our students to prepare in their own career going forward so that they can lead the way also.
Wonderful. So we've gotten a couple questions about fall. As you know, we're all working virtually right now due to the current coronavirus situation. And we've gotten a couple questions about fall. So I'm just going to take a moment to speak about that myself. We are right now in a virtual world, but we are definitely planning for a return to campus and having all of our students on campus this fall. And we believe that to be realistic given the timeframes. We're monitoring that really closely. So we will be, of course, sorry, I have other phones going off in my house right now, which is always the problem of working from home. We, of course, are monitoring the situation very carefully and working with local, state, and health officials to make sure that when we do have students on campus, that we are first and foremost concerned about their safety. We'll continue to work with our accepted students and talk to you about that, but we do want you to understand that first and foremost, we're really planning on being on campus this fall. If that isn't possible, we have tiered plans in place for what different scenarios would look like. We are getting multiple questions about homework and what homework looks like, how much homework there is. Let's Chef K-Work, maybe you can talk a little bit about homework. Maybe everyone can actually answer this with a short answer about what homework looks like for students, how much time it takes, and what they should expect.
Yes, there's homework.
Do you have a sense of how much time students may have in homework in the evening?
It really depends the class that it is. So when you get to a lab-based class, a lot of the way that you're being assessed is going to be through the performance of the day. And so the amount of work is in relation to that. So for my class, for instance, the homework that's expected from that class is generally less compared to classes previous to mine or other types of classes. I would bet that it's probably about 2 hours of homework a night would be a safe assumption. I know, once again, if I'm going to put my student hat on, when I was a student, I wanted to do a good job. And a lot of these concepts, as I stated before, they were brand new. You're not born knowing these things. But going to school, any school, is meant to be transformative. But you have to do it. You have to put that time in. So I know that I certainly went to the library or found spaces to review the day's work and also prepare for the next day. So if you're putting a couple hours in each day and you set up a good routine, you can really spread out the load, and you have steady growth without having to do kind of deep peaks and valleys, because you're not working on anything and then suddenly you're working on a lot. So it's really going to college is all about developing healthy habits that allow you to have good balance, but you have to invest yourself.
Great. Chef McCarrick, maybe a little bit about homework or even what a typical assignment might be.
Sure. I'm just going to add one to what Brian just mentioned about homework, and that, there's a language in the kitchen, and a lot of that is communicated through like keywords and study questions, where that lingo, that terminology that we use so often, which is crucial to successful kitchen operations, the homework applies that. And as far as assignment topics, well, many of our students in the future have aspirations to have their own business one day, and they want to have a successful business. And it's really important that they understand what goes into having a successful business. It's not just the world's best rainbow bagel, but it's also about understanding how food costs work and the dynamics of that also. So the students will have particular projects. They may cover a food cost project, and they also will have other exciting opportunities to work on projects such as talking about the breads of the future, and how in the grains that were available by millers 50 years ago are now making a resurgence and coming back because of this sourdough craze that we have today, which is wonderful. So those are some of the aspects. So it's very relative, but it has to be exciting also. And I think it all lends itself to the building on what was mentioned, that just that attitude of applying yourself and building some really good habits.
Great. Professor Dittbrenner, a thought about homework and typical assignments? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yes, sorry about that. I had a child run through the back there.
Yeah.
Homework, as Chef McCarrick said, it will tie into business concepts. My students, we do reflection papers. So at the end of the week, they do a 250-word summary of what they've experienced in the cafe. And I find that really helps students who are a little nervous about this aspect or this particular class, because it gives them time to just really speak from their heart. So while I might not have a homework assignment every day, a lot of what we do is specifically in the class or group work. They do have a chance to share what their overall feelings they're learning and what they got out of the past week, which then opens up further conversation. And right now in an online environment, we are having a blast with these questions back and forth, and there are so many really great ideas coming out. Some of what I have my students do are watch different videos, or maybe go out and research a topic. I also do a topic or a lecture on social media, because that's important whether you're a chef or whether you're a restaurant. And the students really love this homework assignment because they get to go out and pull a Yelp review and then critique it. And if it's an issue that's been a customer satisfaction issue, they actually have to write a letter. Well, they write a supposed letter that would then be sent to the customer to help appease the situation. So it's reflection, it's scenario based, but it's really using topics and trends that are happening now.
Great. So I think we have time for one more question for each of our panelists. So what would your advice be for students? The students on this session are accepted, most likely for the fall. So what would your advice be for them on how to prepare for success in the fall? So let's start with Chef Kaywork.
Prepare yourself for the fall. I would say get your support system in order. Make sure you understand that when you go to school, that you're going to have to, that it's an adjustment in terms of how you manage your time and how you gain new resources and how do you deal with perhaps probably an uncomfortable situation and move forward. Uncomfortable meaning you just don't know anyone. I don't mean that going to this school is uncomfortable. I just mean that when you're new, we all have our different ways to cope with that. In terms of just in terms of the food or the reasons why you're coming to the school, just do what you love. If you're interested in cooking every day for your family and you always have, then keep cooking. If you bury your nose in a book and you just love food writing and that's what really inspires you, you should just keep your tank full of what makes you feel gratified from this choice that you've made. And then, let the rest of the work happen when it comes, when you come on campus and you start to interact with everything. I wish you good luck.
Great. Chef McCarrick, advice for students on how to be prepared for the fall?
Yes, this is my favorite question. First of all, congratulations to the students and their family who have forged this path. Grab every opportunity. When you get on campus, there are opportunities everywhere. And I am saying this all the time. Grab that opportunity. You have an opportunity to work in Saturday classes. You have opportunity to use, and I forgot to mention this earlier, in facilities. I mean, the world's best foodie library is on campus. How could I forget to mention that place? There are so many things going on, and there's support groups there also on every single level. But I'm excited for you. I'm a bit envious. I think the future for you in this world is going to be wonderful in the food industry, and you're a big part of it. You're going to the best school in the world, and as one of your panelists up here, I say I can't wait to meet you when you come on campus. If you see me walking around, please say hello. I'm there for you and every other student there. But well done. Get ready, hydrate yourself, stay safe, and we'll see you real soon.
Awesome. Professor Dittbrenner, your advice to students on how to be prepared for the fall?
I would say think about possibly a chef or a professor you might want to develop a relationship with as far as being a mentor. And most importantly, start to create your digital journal. For example, pictures of foods that you've created over the summer. Bring them with you. Create a system so that when you see something that inspires you, whether it's a clip from a website or something that you saw in class, have a way to save that, because you're going to want that information after you graduate. And I think if you come in prepared with that mindset of being a sponge and taking as much as you can out of your time with us on campus, you're going to be so happy and so successful when your time passes and suddenly you're up on the stage and you're graduating. So I have a feeling I may have met a few of you already, because when you came on campus, you probably stopped by the cafe. So whether we've seen each other or not, I mirror what my colleagues have said, and that is we are really excited to see you on campus in a few months. So rest up, cook like crazy, take pictures, and we will see you before you know it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to our faculty presenters. I think this discussion was really great, and it just shows the variety of faculty we have and the fact that they are experts in their field. So thank you so much, and thank you to people who joined us. We appreciate all of your questions. We had a couple questions we weren't able to answer, but we will email you an answer and an ability to kind of interact with us after this session. In addition, look for an email after this session with a link of a virtual tour to our campus so you can see more about the facilities that we mentioned. So thank you again for attending today, and we can't wait to welcome you to CIA this fall. Thank you so much.